Ladies and gentlemen, WWE Fastlane review. We're about to jump right into this thing. Quite the interesting night, and that was the finish. Like, I found myself saying that the entire night, man. First, you can find me on Twitter at TooSweetPod and at OMGCoreyB, ladies and gentlemen. NTR.ee/TooSweetPod. As always, subscribe, hit the notification bell, ladies and gentlemen. So, we're going to start right at the top. Let's do that. Daniel Bryan versus Roman Reigns. And so Edge is on the outside. That's a special enforcer. And you're thinking, anytime they put the special enforcer rule in, okay, something has to happen. Something got to go down. Some extra got to go down. So we're getting a hell of a match, man. A match of the year candidate where you look at Daniel Bryan. He's the smaller guy versus Roman Reigns, much bigger guy, so you have to nullify that somehow. And Daniel Bryan's submissions always nullify the size. And he did that in this match excellently, man. They told a great story within the action of the match. But then the extra stuff came. The referee goes down, and we got Edge in there. And then we got Jey Uso in there. He's taking out everybody. And like we got bodies laid everywhere, man. We got Daniel Bryan using the chair. And this finish, man, this came out of nowhere. Edge picks up the chair. Okay, I would understand if he took out Roman Reigns because Jey Uso got involved. What motivation did he have to take out Daniel Bryan? Like, I didn't get that at all, man. Like, so he takes out Roman Reigns with the chair. He levels Daniel Bryan with the chair. And for some way, somehow, Roman Reigns is the guy that's able to crawl. Like, this reminded me of Booker T, Triple H. I can't remember the exact WrestleMania it was, the exact number of WrestleMania it was. WrestleMania main event, Booker T and Triple H. Triple H crawls for forever to get the 3 count. And it's like Roman Reigns crawled for forever to get a slow 3 count. Like, I hated that finish, man. Like, we just went through this with AEW. Now, this finish wasn't as ridiculous as what happened with AEW, but a horrible finish can nullify an all-time great match. And this was, I'm not going to say it's an all-timer, but it was a great match, man. We had some great visuals. We had Roman Reigns tapping out to Daniel Bryan after all of those submissions. And the story was told greatly, but the finish was so bad to the point where the finish is the thing that I remember the most, just like it was in AEW. Nevertheless, Roman Reigns picked up the victory, and I gotta say, I'm upset, man. This sets up, like, I've seen a lot of people saying, well, is this the vehicle to get Daniel Bryan in the main event? Could he be there in the main event for WrestleMania? Like, there's no more could about it. It's going to be Roman Reigns versus Edge versus Daniel Bryan. You don't go through all of that to leave Daniel Bryan out. I mean, what else is he going to do at WrestleMania? It's going to be a triple threat when we have told the story of Roman Reigns versus Edge. You know what? At first, I wasn't digging it, but you know what? As time went on, I started to get into Roman Reigns versus Edge, and I really hate the fact that triple threats normally at WrestleMania get in the way, or at a big pay-per-view in general, normally get in the way of what should be a single story. Like, I enjoyed Daniel Bryan, don't get me wrong, but the story was Edge versus Roman Reigns. Nevertheless, it's gonna be Edge, Reigns, Bryan, and we'll see how it turns out, man. I didn't like that finish, man. It was horrible, man. I hated it. Absolutely hated it, man. Oh, speaking of finishes and hating them, like I said, it was the theme of the night. Randy Orton, Alexa Bliss, and we have this matchup, and I'm like, man, what are we doing? What's gonna happen? What are we doing? And right off the bat, right out the gate, we get Alexa Bliss throwing a fireball. just dropping lights out of the sky, and it's all of this rigmarole, all of this magic going on, and of course you're waiting on Bray Wyatt, you're waiting on a Fiend to show up. And finally, he emerges from the underground and he's burnt to a crisp. You know, Bray Wyatt is from the Cajun country. As a fellow Louisiana boy, Bray Wyatt is from my neck of the woods. Not exactly my neck of the woods, but from my state in Louisiana. When we see something burnt, we call it Cajun style. And Bray Wyatt was just Cajun style last night. And living up to his roots, he appears. Alexa Bliss wins the matchup, and oh man, you know, Bray Wyatt always finds his way back up to the top by reinventing his character. And like, okay, he reinvents it from Bray Wyatt to the Fiend, and from Husky Harris to Bray Wyatt. He always reinvents himself. And if the burnt Fiend is the thing, like, I don't see that working out very well at all. I don't see him finding his way up back to the top where Bray Wyatt once was, where the Fiend once was. I don't see it happening. Look, I hope that it happens. I root for the Louisiana boy and Bray Wyatt. Not just because he's from Louisiana, but because he's an excellent worker. He's excellent at his craft. But this whole thing with Randy Orton and Bray Wyatt, it has really lost momentum, and I don't see how they get it back in my estimation. Nevertheless, Alexa Bliss picks up a pinfall victory over Randy Orton, and it was quite the pinfall. I ain't gonna go there, but it was quite the pinfall. We gonna keep it moving. We gonna keep it moving. Quite the pinfall. Drew McIntyre versus Sheamus, and in a no holds barred match, and it was physical. Drew McIntyre came out with the face paint, and I love the touch, but I gotta say, I wish he would have held that for WrestleMania. You know, it's going to be, Drew McIntyre's going to be Bob Lashley. That's going to be a war too. It's going to be for the title. I wish he would have held that for WrestleMania. That's just me. Nevertheless, an excellent matchup. This came at a point to where, you know what, the pay-per-view was kind of shaky, and we needed a tough, rough, and physical matchup. And the pay-per-view was starting to get back on its way up, and yeah, we got a fantastic pair of kendo sticks to the eyes. We got Sheamus going through TV screens, and we got a white noise through the table from Sheamus. And this was a whole lot of fun, man. Physical, hard-hitting, whips on Sheamus' back. And Drew McIntyre picks up the win. He gets the dub. And he moves on to Bobby Lashley at WrestleMania. Hard-hitting physical match. They better have something lined up for Sheamus at WrestleMania, because the dude has been working really, really, really hard, whether it be with Bobby Lashley, whether it be with Drew McIntyre. He's done some great things, man. I enjoy his work. Speaking of people that I enjoy work of, as we move on, Seth Rollins versus Shinsuke Nakamura. Now, this came at a point where the pay-per-view was just going downhill left and right, man. We needed a good match. And look, man, that's what we got. I wish we could have gotten more in the match, but what we did get, excuse me, easy for me to say, but it was a fantastic matchup, a good matchup for what we got. Rollins picked up the victory. This was another one that had an awkward finish. It looked as though Shinsuke's head, he didn't have his head down right for the curb stomp, and it kind of forced Seth to call an audible. Nevertheless, Seth picked up the victory. And what I disagree with, I scrolled through on my Twitter timeline, and people were saying the match was great. And I was like, no, that wasn't what I considered to be a great match. What Daniel Bryan and Roman Reigns did, okay, that was great all the way up until the finish. Seth Rollins and Nakamura, that was good. Not great. Yeah, not great in my estimation. A good match nonetheless to get the pay-per-view back rolling on track. So I enjoyed it for what it was. Moving on. Something I didn't enjoy. We had Shane McMahon and Elias in the ring. And Elias is looking to put on a concert, and Shane McMahon tells him that he is taking his spot against Braun Strowman. Shane McMahon has an injury, a quote-unquote injury. He can't go for the night. So Elias is taking his place versus Braun Strowman. And this was just, why are we here? Like, if you wasn't going to do Shane and Braun, you might as well have just not done a match at all. Braun Strowman picks up the victory in a time waster. Like a time holder, whatever you want to call it. But they just needed to fill some time, and then Braun picked up the victory. Like, I don't understand why Braun, if a man if a man slimed me on national TV, I don't care how hurt he is, I'm gonna go attack him the next time I see him. And like, I don't understand just Braun to let Shane off the hook. That was awkward to me. Nevertheless, Braun wins, and I'm gonna move on because I'm wasting my time talking about it. Move on. Big E versus Apollo. Boy, quite the strange finish here, ladies and gentlemen. We had Big E, and then at the beginning of the match, there was a lot of match talking going on. Like, this whole thing to where we're cutting promos throughout the match. Like, it can get a bit tiresome, man, if you do it for too long. Big E was doing it for a bit too long in my estimation, so it started to get a bit tiring. Nevertheless, this match didn't go for very long, but what we got was such an awkward finish. It was one of the most, if not the most awkward finish of the year. Apollo has the Big E in a roll-up, and for my estimation, it looked as though Big E was supposed to reverse the roll-up and get the 1, 2, 3. But Big E never gained his momentum, and he never got the fall over on Apollo, and Big E's shoulders was down for the entire time. The ref was restarting the count. Nevertheless, Big E picks up the victory somehow, and I don't know who possibly, maybe it was Big E. I think it was Big E. It could have been the ref, but it was an awkward pinfall, and Big E picks up the win. Nevertheless, they kind of saved it with the Apollo post-match beatdown. And yes, this one is going to move on to WrestleMania, and I expect it to be a really good matchup. And I wouldn't be against Apollo winning at WrestleMania. He needs a big win. He needs it more than Big E needs it at this moment. And this feud can continue past WrestleMania. It could be a feud that takes us into the summer as far as I'm concerned. Big E picks up the victory in what was an all-time awkward finish. Moving on. Women's tag team titles were on the line. And I'm just sitting there like, man, we need to fix what is left of Sasha Banks and Bianca Belair. This whole build to WrestleMania. We need to do something. We need to get this back on track. Nevertheless, the tag team titles were on the line. We got a really good matchup. Bianca Belair, Sasha working really well together, although you knew that this was the time where it was going to fall apart. We get to the finish, and Nia Jax pushes Bianca Belair into Sasha Banks, and Sasha is upset with that. She's not having it. She slaps Bianca Belair, and we get a roll-up finish from Shayna Baszler. Shayna Baszler and Nia Jax retain the tag titles. And after the match, man, I have been the one pounding the table saying that it needs to be a Sasha Banks beatdown of Bianca Belair. But we got a slap, and like Bianca Belair is just gonna sit there and take that, and she just sat there and take that. Like, Sasha put her finger all up in her face, and like, and she said, "What did the 5 fingers say to the face?" Like, and Bianca Belair, the bigger person, the strongest, the biggest, like, she just sat there and took it and pointed to the WrestleMania sign. Like, I feel like they really punked out Bianca Belair. That's just my take on the situation. Nevertheless, it has gotten personal, and WWE, you got 3 weeks. Get me back interested in a feud that I was already sold on. Like, 3 weeks. 3 weeks. We're going to the last match of the night, ladies and gentlemen, or the last match that we're going to talk about. Mustafa Ali versus Riddle for the United States Championship. The story is what happened after the match. This was a fantastic way to get us started on the night. A fantastic matchup. Riddle picked up the victory with the Bro Derek from the middle rope, that was a nice touch. After the match, we saw the breakup of Retribution, and we had Mia Yim leaving down, and we had all of the members of Retribution leaving down. Mustafa Ali takes a high time, and you know what, man? You know what I gotta say about Retribution breaking up? You know what I gotta say about that?
It's about damn time. It's about damn time.
It's about time, man. It's about time. Like, we should have been put this in the tank and got this over with a long time ago. This has been failing, and like, they all need to go their separate ways. Mustafa Ali, he's doing some great things. He needs to go his separate way. And I want my Mia Yim back in the women's division. We need her to get going. And like, they all need to drop the mask. They all need to drop their names. They all just need to go back to their NXT personas. That's what needs to happen here. So what's that? It turns out it is best for all of them that they broke up. So that is it, ladies and gentlemen, for the WWE Fastlane review, ladies and gentlemen. Quite the night. It was an up and down night. I don't like rating pay-per-views, but I did not like this one overall, to be honest with you. Just too many weird finishes for my taste. Nevertheless, let me know what you think. Whether that be on Twitter at TooSweetPod or at OMGCoreyB, or in the YouTube comments. Ladies and gentlemen, always like, subscribe, and hit the notification